Okay. So, Namrata, welcome to the Sechi's platform. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, very well. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me over here, you know.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. It's our pleasure, really, Namrata. Let me start with introducing, you to the audience,
Yes.
and then we can get into the session and, just a more understanding of what really mental health is and, your experience in it.
Okay.
So, Namrata, you are a head at EHS and food safety at BMGI. You're a leader and professional in the areas of sustainability, health, safety, security, and environment for over 25 years. And you possess broad based skills and experiences of integrating HSSE sustainability practices across key disciplines of operational, logistics, supply chain, engineering, business management, commercial programs, and personnel management. Your focus has been to create a balance between business needs and the environment and sustainability over the longer term to enable growth with a strong social impact. So that's an impressive bio, Namrita. Happy to have you. You couldn't be
Thank
have
you.
a more
Thank
expert
you.
to talk on the topic. I mean, who's really has a lot of industry experience behind you as well. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit more about your career journey?
Yes, thank you. And it all started after I completed my master's in environmental sciences and occupational health and safety. And I worked for a year with Procter and Gamble in the US. But when I came to India, and I'm talking way back in '94, is when I came back, and there was nothing related to environment or occupational health and safety. So that's where the journey started, is doing odd jobs. And then finally I got into Detnorske Veritas, DNV, which is a very a reputable certification body, and with very high repute. It's a Norwegian certification body, and that's where my entire journey on EHS, social accountability, sustainability began. And basically it was just unfolding as I was working, because everything was new. People didn't talk environment, people didn't talk occupational health and safety, didn't understand the concepts. But as the subject grew in India, I grew. Okay, so and vice versa. So it was a professional development along with the personal growth. And so I started as an auditor with ISO 14001. Actually, I started also as a trainer. And so incidentally, it so happened there weren't many people in this field, so I became one of the first few, and the only female auditor, the only female trainer in all of India. And then it was also, one of the very few who were actually leading this whole cause. So while it was a professional journey, it also kind of gave me a lot of personal satisfaction because I was making a difference. Uh, okay, so the people, industry didn't even know that there were legislations that they had to follow, law of the land. And so it all was very, very challenging at times. But then, so I continued with DNV for 10 years, working with different industries. I think audit was one part of it, getting connected to them, but the whole idea more was to make a difference, and therefore, so the choice I made was to also help them along the way. Most auditors don't do that. It's not required, not supposed to do that. But then I realized, no, if I don't talk to them about it, don't tell them what is the right thing to do, right practices, it's not going to happen. And I would be frustrated at the end of the day that how am I even certifying a company which really to me is not making sense. So that was the thing, that the choice that I made was to also help them along as I go along. And things have changed a lot, Divya, now. It's been over 25, 26 years now. People understand environment. There's a whole lot of importance and impetus being given to environment, social and governance factors now, as we call ESG, as we call it. SEBI has made it mandatory, and for listed companies, 1,000 listed companies to even do that. So yes, so the whole journey, I know I am digressing, but then I joined BM them for about 5 years, heading their environment, health and safety, and actually started this vertical for them. I got on my own. So now I'm as a freelancer, a freelance consultant, but I also do work with them if it comes and if it's required. I also worked with industry. I worked with a chemical company as an associate vice president heading their EHS and sustainability domain. And that gave me exposure directly to the shop floor, as in, when you're in the system and when you're working as a consultant, they're two very different things. So the journey has been like overall a very holistic journey, as I may put it, and it's all related to this subject, yes. And personally, I'm also very interested in psychology, and because I was interested in psychology, I also learned a lot of psychology myself, read up. These days you have everything, you Google it and you get everything. So if you're interested in a subject, you don't only have to read books, you can just Google and you can read articles and understand why people behave the way they behave. It helped me in my audits, it helped me in my trainings, it helped me understand people better on the shop floor. Is why are they doing stuff which they are not supposed to do, and that causes them problems with health and safety, So yeah, so I think in many ways my this interest in psychology helped me understand people better. That's from there is where I got into mental health, and of course occupational health and safety. So the health and safety part, that we are talking about. So the focus was more always on safety, and I thought, why not health? And so this is how this is how it's all happened, and one after the other, and I'm just still not done. There's a long way to go.
It looks like it was a very sort of a natural progression, right? Things kept happening one after the other, and some of it you led, and I think some things were led for you. So I think
They just happened.
it's a combination. Lovely, lovely. So tell
Totally.
us more, in your experiences, what have been some of the challenges in this environment, occupational health and safety at work, right? So you have like 25, 26 years of experience. What are the specific challenges that businesses face or people
Yes,
face?
yes. So like I said, even in the introduction, I was digressing, or my journey so far is that when I started off, legislation itself was a question mark. There are consents that people need to even operate an organization, and these consents come from the center, they come from the pollution control boards, they come from the factories inspectorate. So there are different licenses that they need to operate. Okay, so the problem was right there, and so initially I had to actually tell them that I can't audit you unless you have these things in place. So the basic is the law of the land. If you don't follow that, how do you expect yourself to be saying I'm certified to so and so standard? So that was a huge challenge. Slowly, I think that has changed over a period of time. And industry and so the government pressure from also pressure from the legal authorities has increased so much that organizations have no choice but to do that, and that's changed a lot. But it was a challenge. Uh, People didn't really understand what environment meant. That's where I started. Is for them, environment only meant pollution, water pollution, air pollution. No one ever spoke of resources and consumption of resources, wasting resource. No one spoke of waste or waste management. They had no idea what this waste actually does and how it can actually cause. So the long term prognosis of all of this effect that we are seeing now was not there at that time. In many ways, Divya, I felt that now, I felt, oh, I have done this, I've already spoken to people about this. When people talk about saving energy and saving electricity and saving water and saving, disposing waste in the right manner. So that was a huge challenge, getting people to understand what this whole thing entails and why it's important. So it was like, what is it in us in business? I mean, how is it going to give us benefits? What is the financial benefit? I said it's not tangible, it's all indirect. So if I have to put a finger on it, even now I think it's a non-profit making activity. But if you don't do this, you have zero business. So there's no profit anyways. So the whole idea was to sell it, saying that okay, there's a lot of indirect benefit. So when you actually save energy, you're saving not only the environment, but you're saving money. When you're saving water, you're not just saving the environment. So every time it used to be a challenge to explain to them why it's important, and so this is the environment part. When it came to occupational health and safety, again, safety was minimalistic safety. Okay, in both cases, contractor safety or contractor awareness, we have a lot of contractors that work and they also subcontract activities. So, huge organizations, big organizations, they never do everything directly. They don't have permanent employees, they have employees who come as contractors, and we have a lot of contractor related activities that happen. And occupational health and safety, again, safety becomes extremely important when we talk about contractors. We just don't talk about our own employees, we also have them as human beings. Unfortunately, in India, uh, no one really thought about contractor safety. Okay, so some places, yes, they did manage safety of their own employees, but when it came to contractors, everybody was ready to push the, kind of just give the, what do you say, responsibility, not take responsibility, not take accountability for what happens to the contractors. Having said that, I will go back again to the own employees. Even own employees were really not cared for when it came to occupational health and safety. Again, it was, it has happened in so many years. Why will it happen now? People have been so there were so when I would go and interview people at the shop floor level, they'd say, "We've been doing this practice, so it's a wrong practice, I would say, in terms of safety." And they would say, no, it's fine, we've been doing this for the last 30 years. What can happen now? So the mindset had to be changed, and that's where my trainings used to be very important for me. Is not just auditing or not just setting systems, but also making them aware. Is that how critical and how important occupational health and safety. Now, when safety was covered by and large by most organizations, but again, because there is a cost to it, and it is actually visible directly, right? So if someone gets hurt, or there's an accident, or someone falls down or breaks his limb, or there is a fatality, it's a huge thing, so the media is looking at you, the government is looking at you, the regulators are looking at you, everybody is looking at you, and therefore it becomes imperative that you take care of the safety part. So again, the safety was given importance because of all the other reasons. I'm not again saying they were not worried about people, but yes, because of the other reasons, insurance cost and a lot of other things. But again, focus was tip of the iceberg, never what is below. And in my opinion, we still have a long way to go in terms of occupational health. So while safety still is being given the importance, again, occupational health is challenging. There are a lot of social issues that we need to work with, and when we talk about social issues, we are talking about gender diversity, we are talking about inclusivity, we are talking about non-discrimination policies, we're talking about labor practices, and all of this gets linked to health and safety also. So from that angle, yeah, there are challenges, and it has been challenging, and yeah, so I think the journey will go on. If you
Yeah, I
see
think
the,
it's the combination of awareness and understanding the cost benefit, that needs to come out strongly. And that comes with education, with more people like you who are, who are able to explain the cost benefit of things. I think that is where the awareness will increase and it will, the challenges can reduce. But moving on to the main topic, which is the mental health space, right? So how does your work really assist people in the mental health space?
so when you look at occupational health, again, occupational health is linked with mental health. So is safety. That's how I bring the entire thing together. Is when we are talking about health at workplace, it all also emanates from how safe is your work environment, how good is your work environment. For example, I'll just give you an example of noise. When the work environment is very noisy, or the machines are not taken care of, and there's extreme exposure to noise that workers face, or anybody for that matter faces, there is a health impairment, there is a physical impairment, that is loss of hearing, okay, eventually over a period of time. But it's not just that. The noise that you are exposed to creates some kind of mental disturbance. At the end of the day, there is fatigue. While you're working, you're irritated, you're disturbed. That can cause accidents because then you won't work in the right manner. When you come back home, there you carry this irritability with you. You carry this, somewhere it bothers you because you are affected. You kind of start losing your hearing abilities, and that also impacts your quality of life. So if you look at the entire thing, so I'm just giving you a very small example. It doesn't happen overnight, Divya, but it has a long-term chronic effect, right? So that's the mental health part, the occupational health part, which is directly related to a hazard in the company. Now when I come to people, people are also hazardous to each other. So, and the reason I say this is because as leaders, because I've been in a leadership role, if we do not provide the right environment for our colleagues, for our juniors to work in, it does create a lot of mental disturbance to the point that their emotional well-being is affected. People have dysregulated emotions, their behaviors are affected, their general overall well-being is impaired. And somewhere I feel that as leaders we do need to provide the space for conversation, for people to come up to us and say, okay, listen, I'm having a bad day, I don't understand what you have asked me to do. And that safe space is when someone can openly trust you and say, okay, even if I'm going to show my vulnerabilities to my manager or to my senior, they will understand and they will help me out. Rather than putting pressure and saying, well, you don't understand this, I mean, how is that even possible? What you hear, how were you hired? And you were hired based on this competency, yeah, but it's okay for people not to know everything. And that's where I think it becomes very challenging, because the environment is so competitive, especially in the corporate world. I'm sure you know that. And there's a whole lot of change that is taking place. Technology is changing. Everyone is expected to know everything really fast. And that causes more of a mental disturbance because people are undergoing depression, they don't talk about it. There is addiction that is taking place. More and more people, not only at different levels, are getting addicted to drugs, are getting addicted to alcohol. And so the reason is not just because they're enjoying it, because they want to numb their senses a little bit of what happened throughout the day. And then what happens is their quality of life at home gets affected. Okay, so there are a few things that as leaders we need to do is provide that space, give them, be empathic, listen, be open-minded, allow them to say what they want to say and understand where they are coming from, give the, I think there are a few things, I mean, as I'm talking, be authentic, be real, allow them to be real. And it's okay if you're in a leadership position, but it's not about power, it's about how you influence other people, how you make them feel, how comfortable you make them feel. This is all linked to mental health. So when these people come back home, they'll say, okay, I had a good day at work, my quality of life at home improves. So it's all linked. I don't
Very
know
well
if this is,
spoken.
I'm
Yeah,
going, this is,
yeah. It's
yeah,
all
I
linked,
think this is.
We are the same people, right? Whether it's home or whether it's work, and the emotions continue, right? So if
Absolutely.
one area of our lives are not positive, then it moves to the other areas as well. So, it's like a vicious cycle. So yeah,
Everywhere.
I totally understand. So Namrata, in your experience of so many years with industries and various companies and people, is there any advice you'd like to give the women who might be struggling with mental health issues? We have over 10,000 women on HSSE's platform, and countless people are joining the app like you, where they come and listen to people, who have stories, inspiring stories to tell. So, keeping that as a background, is there a message you'd like to give, especially for the women who are struggling?
Yes, self-care and self-awareness. Two things. One is, when I talk of self-awareness, I say understand it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
Right.
And so it's important that you understand what you're feeling, what
Yeah.
your emotions are, and it's okay to have emotions. You just don't have only positive emotions, it's okay to have negative emotions also.
Correct.
Have no shame or guilt in speaking. Again, I say, find the right person and speak about it. Say what you have to say.
Yeah.
I never tell people you have to be rude, but at the same time, you must not just keep, shut yourself so much or isolate yourself so much that it starts affecting you completely as an individual. The work environment
Right.
is largely, sorry to say this, but patriarchal, where unfortunately, I know there are a lot of women who are coming out now and doing great for themselves. But even if now,
Yeah.
even if you take the percentage of women to men, it's still minuscule,
Yeah.
very little, right? Now what happens is women are expected to emulate men in everything. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen because men can't do everything that women can do.
Right.
They don't juggle between a home and a job. Women, by
Yeah.
and large, of course, today they are getting support from their spouses. Things are changing, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. But if you go down to the lower strata of the society, it's really not changing.
Yeah.
So they're still expected to go back home and do
Yeah.
everything right at home as well, So
Correct.
they may have had a bad day at work with a boss. So they're holding those feelings. Now, those come out on children, they come out on the spouse, they affect their relationships at home, you
Yeah.
know. So basically, self care is very important then. So, awareness, where am I going wrong? What am I doing wrong or right? And I'm not being given credit for being recognized for it. And by and large, they may not get this recognition or credit from anybody, but they
Yeah.
have to give it to themselves and say, well, I'm doing a great job. Maybe this is where I need to improve, and I improve over there. So that is one thing. Don't feel bad about anything.
Yeah.
Second is
Yeah.
self care. And when you talk about self care, that's not being selfish, that's being very real.
Yeah.
And women are as much human and more than everyone else. And so,
Yeah.
in self care, again, I say there is physical self care where you take time out to do some activity, maybe for 30 minutes in a day, which
Yeah.
gives you enjoyment, pleasure, and let that activity actually sweat it out. That's what I tell people, sweat it out, feel amazing, go for a run, go for a walk, dance, do yoga, do meditation. Of course, that is not sweating, but then if that's something that you can do, you want to do, be mindful and do it.
Yeah.
So that's taking some time off every day and doing a physical activity. I always say also you're enhancing your intellectual and emotional capability. Read one article every single day that is challenging your own opinion,
Yeah.
and that enhances your intellectual capability. Emotionally also you become better because it's challenging your own opinions about something. So read something different. Okay, coming to environment, be aware of your environment. Simple things like cleaning up your desk or cleaning, it's very therapeutic. Ensure that you just go out in the park, talk to the plants, trees, or just have some plants and trees at home which you can take care of. Spend about 5
Yeah.
minutes that you can. It is amazing, it makes you feel brilliant. Socially
Yeah.
connect, reach out to an old friend,
Yeah.
talk to people professionally and personally. Have your social circle at work, have your social circle out of work, personally, of course. And it's not, I don't mean your immediate family, I mean someone outside of that immediate family.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's brilliant to connect to them and feel
Right.
good about it. This is all related to mental health.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, at work, when you have a social circle, don't talk work, talk something else,
Yeah.
talk something that is of interest, you
Yeah.
know yeah. So different things that
No,
women
there are
can do.
lots of things, but very practical tips. And even if we pick up one or two to begin with, and make it a habit,
Start.
I think that'll be a good start for the mental health space.
I say sleep well, eat healthy,
Yeah.
and exercise.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Also get hold of
Yeah.
your finances and understand, make a budget. See,
Yeah.
financial
Sure.
security and financial management makes you feel amazingly good. As much as people
Yeah.
may say money, I say it's very important.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
unfortunately, in our country, women don't understand this.
Right. 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 Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Namrata. I think very valuable tips. extremely valuable, practical tips and coming straight from the heart, Namrata. It shows your experience and your wisdom across, the several years that you've interacted with people. So it's all showing through to us. And thank you so much once again for coming on the Say Cheese platform. We'll be very happy if you agree to come once again, if it's to mentor somebody or, just to talk. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Rajpreet. And it's great to be connected with you all. And at any given point in time, you think that my services can be valuable and I can come here and say something in any of the topics that you think I could be, I'll be honored. Absolutely honored. And
Thank you so
very
much.
nice.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for
Please.
your time today.
Thank you, Divya.
Pleasure is all
Bye.
ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Namrata.
Thank you. Bye.